Okay. Big breath. Let's talk about what just happened.
Welcome, goblins, ghosts, werewolves, and witches. You've just crossed over into a shadowy realm where darkness whispers, monsters lurk, and nothing is ever quite what it seems. From bone-chilling films to nightmare-fueled TV shows to heart-pounding video games, join us as we laugh, scream, and geek out over everything that goes bump in the night. So grab your garlic, wooden stakes, and silver bullets and get ready for this special edition of Scripts and Screams. Now your hosts, Jessica Morgan and Chris Carter.
Back again.
Lizzie Morgan is a dog mom, a plant mom,
Yeah, I
a
guess I am.
connoisseur of learning how to DIY.
I am a connoisseur of filming techniques too. I'm an audio person. I'm a stunt person. I'm a hairstylist.
No, but most importantly, your set deck, because your set deck for Harvest was pretty fucking awesome. We talked about this the other day too, Lizzie. It was the totems you made were we could sell those things to some witches up in Salem, and they'd love it. They'd love
I
it.
had like 10% of the profit.
But anyway, hello everybody. We're back. I've got Jessica and Lizzie along with me, Chris. We're talking about episode 3, season 2 from Last of Us called The Path. And we're still coming down, I think, from what happened last episode where, we had to say goodbye to
Episode 2.
Yeah. And, to be fair, Lizzie always said this. Lizzie said from the start, we talked about this on the first episode, that she thought that it was episode 2 where Joel would die. And she's right, which is wild. But Lizzie
Probably should have said, guys, we're going to talk about the episode. So
we are. It's
turn back if you didn't want to hear anything about the episode.
What the fuck did you just say?
If you don't want to. Turn back if you don't hear anything about the game associated with the episode.
That's true.
We will try to hold off on the spoiler flag for future, as all three of us have played the game, we will try to hold off before we go into the things that will happen in the future that haven't been on the show. We will hold off until spoilers go. But anyways, just throwing that out there.
Lizzie, so before we get into this week's episode, and we didn't get a chance to talk to you about last week, first of all, why did you think it was episode 2 that Joel was going to get the big golf club, send off to the clouds?
I honestly think it was just that I was more removed from the game, and so I didn't remember much happening before Joel's death. And maybe that's just because it's Joel dying, and that's like the pivotal moment, so you always remember it. But I was like, what else are they going to put in there that they're going to make it last till episode 3?
Yeah.
And I couldn't really figure it out. And then finding out that they're splitting the season in 2, even then I was like, you got a lot of stuff you got to get to after he dies.
Yeah. All I could think about is when we saw him die and found out that you were right was,
God damn it, Gump! You're a goddamn genius!
Sorry.
Honestly, I think I thought he would die in the first episode before.
No way.
Like, yeah. After watching it, I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. They're not going to kill him right off the bat, but it would have been like an amazing way to start it really strong right off the bat, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I guess so. How did you feel about it, Lizzie? Because Jessica and I talked about it like in length last week, and we want to get just, before we get to this episode, just touch base with you on that part of the show linking up with that character's death.
I was real happy. I was pleasantly surprised because I thought I was going to be. Excuse my dog.
Nova Bear.
No. I thought she sees a rabbit or something. So I was pleasantly surprised. Okay, give me a second.
So while Lizzie tends to Nova, and we are dog people, so we give them all the time in the world for that. You will come back to.
How did you feel like going into this episode? Did you expect out of this episode? This is episode 3.
I kind of felt like it'd be like I don't want to say a downer, but definitely more slow, right? Because I think they had to give us a chance to. I mean, and not just on production part of it. Like, I'm sure a fair amount of the budget was spent on that episode. And so I kind of felt like this one's going to be dialed back a little bit. I was excited to see from the trailers that we were going to see how Ellie got the information about who Abby and her crew was from Dina, which is different than the series. And I think this version of Dina is so different. I want to talk about her later on when we get a chance to get Lizzie back. But what did you think about going into this episode?
Yeah, I think I expected it to be like slower. I mean, no matter what, it's like, what you just came off of? You're just like, oh, like it says at the beginning of this, deep breaths. Like,
Yeah.
So, I definitely, yeah, I think I expected it to be slower, and I was like, it's going to take us a bit to go into what's coming up next. You know what I mean? But we all have to like grieve a little bit.
Right, for sure. Liz, are you back with us?
Yeah. No.
No.
Mic is not working.
Lizzie, you're yeah.
Darn it.
There it is. She's back.
I'm here.
Nice.
Like,
Okay.
mute on.
What were you saying?
I thought I was going to be more upset because I saw, in the game, Tommy is with Joel when he dies, and I thought that was kind of important. And it was actually, I found it very interesting to see how they did the fight scenes and how they would protect Jackson and all that. I thought was actually really interesting and kind of added to the story.
Yeah.
I was kind of upset that they changed that Ellie was with Jesse instead of Dina.
Oh, okay.
Some important stuff happens when she's with Dina before she finds Joel. So, but overall, I was very happy with how the final scenes came out, that they kept Joel's line of, oh, just shut up and fucking do it. And her saying, you stupid old man. You don't get to rush this. And I was like, yes. I was like, that is such like a big part in the game where you're just like, oh, Joel knows what's coming up, but he's not gonna just get scared and beg and stuff. He's just like, I know what I've done and I know who you are and why you're here. Go ahead and do it. Just shut up and do it.
Yeah.
That's a great read on that moment, Lizzie. I know that Jessica had brought that point up, or that exact lineup in last episode too, because that was such a big deal and how it tied back to the game. But that's a really good read on that, I think. And, part of what we were talking about last episode was that Joel kind of knows that he wasn't a great guy, but he made the choice. And this is Jessica's point, so I don't want to speak for her, but I remember it vaguely. I was listening to our podcast earlier today where Joel kind of knows he's not a great guy, but he made the right decision in his mind. He's like, hey, I whatever punishment comes with making this decision, I'm okay with it because I made, in my heart of hearts, the right decision. And I think that you're, you know what I mean? I think that says a lot about that, interaction. So yeah.
Going into this episode, they did give us some of the same kind of grieving moments that we got in the game, which was really nice. I felt like, I mean, they had more time, honestly, with the grieving of it, which I kind of was a fan of too, but I was happy that we had some very specific moments that were in the game too, which is like the whole closet scene and the jacket and things like that. Like, I was like, that was a big moment in the game where you're just like, let me be and die and cry.
It just hurts. It hurts.
Yeah, it hurts so bad going into the house and stuff. And like, so imagine if you're playing the game, you're just like walking through the house yourself and like going in through this. And I remember just being so sad about it. And so it's interesting that they went ahead and did a whole set with the house and gave the time of her to walk through it too, so that you did feel that like empty, lonely, like gone feeling,
I have a few qualms with this episode.
Oh,
some things I wasn't really happy with. Mm-hmm. So I want to know how you guys feel. And just know I love the show.
Sure. Yeah.
Actors.
Of course.
But how do you guys feel about Bella Ramsey's way of showing her grief and her anger?
You go, Jessica, because I feel like my opinion on Bella Ramsey has been well documented, and I don't want to get into that before you have a chance to talk about it.
It's interesting. I was even talking about this to Dustin, and it's funny. Dustin has bought like Bella Ramsey a lot in general as Ellie, But he actually, from watching this, was saying that he's starting to feel like she is a little more Ellie. Like it's just, especially when she's angry and things like that. He's saying that he's seeing it. Like I think it's probably like the whole conversation she has with the therapist when she's like before she gets released, kind of a thing. It's like that attitude and everything that comes across is very Ellie, in my opinion. Grieving part, it's a little bit harder for me. It's just, but it's kind of, I don't know if that's just because like when you're in the game, it's like you're kind of in your own feelings anyways. Like you're just living through that. And so it's like you don't necessarily get to see a ton of grief on somebody's face in a video game because it's still a video game. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like for me, it's fine. I think there was one thing I said too, and it was all throughout this episode specifically because we get like a classic look that's like an Ellie look for the video game, which is like she does the half hair up thing. And that is like, and it's the jacket too. She gets like the olive jacket color and things like that. Like there's a very specific that I'm like, oh yeah, that's what Ellie wears and looks like. I think that they made a mistake by not cutting her hair. Like honestly, if she had like shoulder length hair, I had a moment where I was looking at her and I was like, I actually feel like she would kind of look like Ellie here. But they left it longer, and I don't know why that stood out to me, but I said it to Chris when we were watching it, where I was like, just picture for a moment that it's shoulder length. Like she would look kind of like Ellie. I don't know why they left her hair long because it's been something everyone's fought against this whole time. So I'm like, she doesn't really look like Ellie. So I don't know. I was fine with it, I guess is my answer.
For as far as like,
I agree with the hair though. I think right now, just going for only that, I think it's making her look younger when she should be looking older. I think the short hair would have helped with that.
Oh yeah, I'm 100% with you. I think it would have too.
I think as far as like the way that Bella performed grief, it was a mixed bag. So the first time I watched this episode, there were some things that she did. And I'm like, fuck, this is, in my opinion, just bad acting. Like maybe I was looking at it from a point of view where there should be more traumatic stress visible on the character, whether it's through their eyes or through just something. And then I thought, as I watched it again, because I watched it twice, I think in every circumstance that Bella is speaking to someone about Joel, whether it's the therapist, whether it's the doctor asking how she is, even when it's about or with Dina later on in the episode, she just kind of, it's very topical. It's like, I'm fine. Yeah, it sucks, but I move past it. And the one time I think that we really get to see what she really thinks is when she finds the jacket. And like you guys mentioned, or especially you, Jessica, when you mentioned when she went to the house and she found the jacket, and even the DP of the show said that it was emotional for them too because of the way Bella kind of went through it. Funny enough, there were no words spoken, which was fantastic. But yeah, Lizzie, it's weird because I watched it a couple times, and the first time I thought this was just bad, and the second time I'm thinking maybe it's calculated by the director telling Bella to be, care, but don't really care. You have to mask your emotions. You have to kind of hide that rage and that anger. You know what I mean? So it's interesting, and it'll be interesting to see how that progresses throughout the series. But now you tell us.
Liz. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think I wanted more from Bella Ramsey. Like the closet scene, absolutely amazing. Like made me cry, like kind of thing. But those moments of in between where it's, excuse me, just her and she's angry and stuff, I just felt like she had more of a blank anger where like, she's like, I'm angry, but I'm holding it in. Whereas I felt like Ellie in the game, she showed her anger really well. And sometimes when I was watching Bella Ramsey, it almost felt like when she was angry, it was a childish anger instead of just someone really being upset with the world. It was like a kind of like when Dina goes to tell her and she's like, I don't fucking care. You should have told me kind of thing. It didn't come off as it didn't come off as like an adult being like, hey, this was important to me. Fuck you for not telling me. It came off as a teenager going
like
like
a tantrum almost, right? That's a good point.
Yeah,
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And it just hit me the wrong way. And I was like, I want to see her angry, and I want to see some growth from the last game, because I feel like she isn't Ellie 5 years later yet. She's still Ellie, the teenager, still showing her emotions in very strong ways. But even I watched the scene in the game where they're at the dance and she tells Joel off. Yeah. And there is small differences of how they're angry. Like Bella just curses at him and says, I don't need you, kind of thing. And Ellie in the game kind of goes, I don't need you, Joel. Like, I don't need you. And then as he walks away, her face gets sad. Like, I love you, Joel, but like, what are you doing? You know, like, you're making mistakes. You just keep making mistakes. And I felt like Bella Ramsey took it to a, I fucking hate you, Joel kind of thing. And it was like, Ellie never hated Joel. So it was, I'm getting those slight differences where like overall it's fine, but I'm still waiting to see that true anger. I want to go kill someone. Like, what have you done to me? Instead of like, I'm angry, we're going to go get these people kind of thing.
You know, that is fair, I think, because it's like I've said, I think we noticed right away that she seemed very similar at the first episode. I think this came up a lot and we talked about it. And my hope was that I was like, I think we're going to hopefully see that, like, we get a reminder of who she was kind of thing. And then as we go through, we'll see a change. And so it's like to not see that change yet in this episode, it does feel like it's like, okay, are we going to get that change? And I think that's fair. And I'm with you that I really hope we get that change. Like, I hope this is the director still like doing a slow kind of, you know, hey, we're going to start working our way towards it sort of a thing, because it does feel directed here like that. I'm going to say that, like, we have the whole scene with that they've added that wasn't in the game at all, which is where they go to the council and they talk about, can we send people after these people? Right. And in that scene, like, she plays it very calm, but it's because like Jesse gave her that advice. We don't want to see you angry. You get angry and nobody is going to listen to angry. No one's going to vote for angry. Right. So it's like, is calculated in that moment that even the, like, you know, aside from just character calculated, like the creators and the writers and stuff are actually calculating it too. And I mean, it works in the sense that we're getting commentary later where we have, you know, the therapist we're talking about. She ends up, you know, having a conversation with Tommy and kind of lays it out where she's like, no, she's a liar. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's just a liar. Yeah. Like, you bought that kind of a thing. And so it's like, we're getting told still that it's like that's not her and that's not what she's really feeling and things like that. But I'm with you. We haven't seen it yet. And I think that might be like the disconnect. And I'm with you that if we don't see that in the next few episodes, or at least by the end of the season, then I am probably going to be upset. And don't get me wrong, I do think there's still the room for it. I think that us having played the game, we know that there's some severe things that come up and there is going to be room to see the anger. So if that isn't pulled off in those moments, then I think I will be very disappointed, because right now I think I'm hanging in being like, maybe this is calculated. Maybe this is like, this is the character growth. We're trying to, you know, stretch it out kind of a thing. We're going to see it happen and it's going to be more shocking because of it. You know what I mean? Or something. But I'm with you that it's, you know, right now we are not seeing that. So, and it is a little bit missed for sure. It's, you know what I mean?
As I was watching, I felt like I kept seeing opportunities, like Catherine O'Hara, the scene she had with Bella Ramsey at the beginning, being the therapist, and you know automatically, like, Ellie is just putting her feelings off. She wants to get out of the hospital. Yeah. But part of me wanted her to also be like, F you, like, I'm gonna get out of this hospital. We know I'm both upset, but I'm not gonna show you what I'm really feeling.
Yeah,
and
right now she's like playing the
and I was like, it almost felt shocking because that was the first thing you pretty much saw of her after the 5 months. Like, right. So it was so nonchalant that it almost
it's 3 months, right?
3 months, 5. Yeah, I think it is 3 months.
5 years.
Right?
Yeah, it's 3 months since the action.
But like, she walked away from that being dismissed from the hospital, and you can see her smile kind of drops off from her face as she's walking away. And I wanted it to drop just a little bit more into anger or a little bit more into sadness. Whereas it kind of just went from, I'm happy, to kind of, I'm an upset blank face, and I just want a little bit more now and then.
Okay, copy.
And I don't know if that's, again, a director's thing or what, because listening to the podcast, and I don't want to cite that too much. They did say that when they were writing it and directing it, that it was hard to do because they wanted her to act a certain way but not be genuine. And they were talking specifically about the council when she's trying to present and get people to go. Yeah. But I'm sure that echoes through the entirety anytime somebody brings up or she thinks about Joel. Now that she's free, like the only thing that Ellie thinks about is avenging Joel, right? So I'm wondering if that was a directorial note, because I felt the same way. I really did, Lizzie. I felt like Bella wasn't doing it for me, but when I heard the director and the writer kind of say, we want her to be like genuine but not truthful. You know what I mean? I guess, and I think that's why the therapist, we have that great cutaway when she's in the town hall. You have the cutaway to the therapist and she's just kind of rolling her eyes like, you know what I mean? Ellie's telling everybody what they want to hear, not what she really wants to say. I think that might be part of it, but yeah, I'm kind of, it'll be interesting to see how it kind of fleshes out, because I do think, like Jessica said, there'll be some real big opportunities to kind of explore all of that when some of the things that we think are going to happen start happening when they're in Seattle, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How are you guys feeling about Dina then?
Oh, I love Dina.
Because that kind of brings us over to like Dina being the one to give the info, right? Like we go through the grieving process. Dina shows up in the house and is like, I have to tell you stuff that I didn't tell you before because you were in the hospital, right?
Yeah.
And Chris, you said you really wanted to talk about this. Do you want to go ahead and talk about it?
I do. I think that this iteration of Dina, I like her so much more than I like her in the video game, at least right now. And again, I know we'll bring up the video game part later, but Dina is so smart. She's calculated. She's like, she doesn't let rage and passion kind of fuel her direction. And when she goes to, like you mentioned earlier, Lizzie, when she goes to Ellie and she brings the cookies and like, this is a peace offering because I'm going to upset you, there was a reason she waited. Like she listed these things out. And one of the things that was really fucking smart is she says, if you're going to go looking for someone, isn't it smart to wait until you know they're going to go where they're trying to get to? Like, I think that was brilliant. We see it later in the episode too, and especially in the trailer for next week, where Dina kind of says, hey, how are you going to do this? And Ellie's like, I'm just going to go find these people and kill them. Well, Dina's like, it's more complicated than that, right? It's like, what route are you going to take? Are you going to take any medical supplies? God forbid you roll an ankle, which is exactly what I would do. So, you know what I mean? Like her like thinking about
you and me both.
Yeah, right.
Which is so interesting because it's like you were saying, you know, Ellie is coming off kind of like a little more teenager, childy kind of thing. And it's like, these are the moments that honestly, they're not helping either. Like, I'm with you. I think I really like Dina in this, but oh my gosh, like those moments actually do make Ellie kind of stand out more of like, girl, haven't you learned anything in these 5 years? What is happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Lizzie? How do you feel on this newest iteration of Dina from the game?
Okay. I'm liking this Dina so far. She's a lot flirtier than the one in the game, but like you said, Chris, she is smart, and she was smart in the game, but yeah, just her smartness, her survival skills, everything, I'm loving it a lot. The flirtiness, and like you said, I don't want to refer to the creators podcast too much, but even they said that they didn't like the way Dina was in this episode and how she was kind of going back and forth with Ellie.
Kind of manipulating her, right? Kind of.
Yeah, manipulative. And I felt
Totally.
that.
Yeah.
I felt that when I was watching it, and I was like, oh, I don't like that they changed this. And then they said it, and I was like, oh, something must be coming if they're even writing it in a way they don't like at the beginning. So I'm very interested.
I know. I was like, I think, I mean, it's definitely like, yeah, there's some flirting going on and stuff. We rated the kiss, which you talked about before. that you didn't like that Jesse was necessarily paired up with Ellie because this conversation, part of this conversation was in the game in that moment, right? Like we got to talk about it then, but we didn't get everything we got in that moment, which we won't go into. But with this, it's like, so there's hints of it, but they are changing things from the game for sure. I mean, she right away is like, yeah, I already went back to Jesse. Like,
So do we think that's real or do we think that's bullshit? What do you guys think?
I mean, I wonder, like, you know, like, here's my thinking is this: for doing a series and you're going to, like, you know, possibly have this love interest going on, like this, the idea of it or something. I think it's a good idea to stretch it out between episodes. So it's like, we're not like immediately satisfied. I don't know if that's where they're leading with this. It could get a different complex kind of way because she straight up is like, you know, you're gay and I'm not. Like,
right.
Yeah, she's not even accepting that. Like, she's like bi or
the way she said that
know?
was like, hey, you're this, I'm not. Like, it was
totally
kinda, right. It was kind of weird.
But it could also be like more character growth. Like, for all we know, like maybe it will be difficult for her to decide that she is gay or something, or I don't know. Right. There's room for it, I think.
Right in the beginning I was like, why are they doing this? And then I was like, the game, you are all about, you know, getting to Abby and fighting and just all that stuff. There is no time to like see much of the relationship between her and Dina, so it is kind of nice to see those relationships get a little more attention and the situation drawn out.
We're story based now, and it's like, you know, if you ever read any romance ever, it's like, you kind of like the slow burn can be nice, the sizzle or whatever.
It is.
Like, we don't,
it is.
Yeah,
fuck yeah,
like we don't want the immediate gratification because then we're like, now what?
First chapter of the book, we know who she's gonna marry.
Yeah, you know, but we want to take our time getting there, anyways.
yeah.
You know,
so I had a little hesitation, but I've come to be like, you know, I'm excited to see what they show us with Dina and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like she's more fleshed out already than she was in the game.
100%. Like, the thing is, like, I don't think they've strayed too far from like what her core was in the game, like other than maybe these moments here. But it's like, aside from that, I'm like, her being smart, like she is smart in the game. It's just we don't get to see or talk about it a ton. Like, you know what I mean? She literally has like a great moment that's going to come up later where we get to see her kind of be tech savvy and things like that. But we had a moment where it's like with Joel, where she was like looking at mechanical stuff. And so it's like, I'm already kind of like, oh, I like that we're just like fleshing out these things that were true about her in the game, but now we just get to see like we're more thoroughly. And that's really nice because I do feel like it's crazy to think that the show is actually going to improve on some of these, you know, supporting characters, basically. Like Jesse's the same way. I am such a Jesse fan. Yeah. Which of course they definitely gave us, like, they were like, here's this muscle man doing this thing. And I was like, okay, swoon, I get it.
I know. I was like, oh, I like Jesse still, even in the TV show.
But I mean, aside from that, it's just like he's getting way more fleshed out. And I'm so for it, you know?
Yeah. I had totally forgotten in the game that Jesse was on the council. He was in the game too.
Really? I know
I don't
he was
remember.
like, he was the one who gave them the instructions about when they had to go out and do these things. So he was like in a leadership position.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I don't remember if he was on the council, I'll be honest.
I mean, we never actually saw the council in the games, but I remember Jesse being like highly regarded by everyone.
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting to actually show that. And yeah.
Totally.
I do love, because I wasn't on the podcast last episode, but I love that they kept that line in when he's talking about Ellie kissing Dina, and he's like, that was kind of fucked up.
That was kind of fucked up.
And then they shut the door on him. And I was thinking when it was coming up, I was like, I hope they have that line in there, because it was just one of those lines that's like, so fucking hilarious.
And he's killing it. You know what I mean?
Great.
Like, it's kind of these moments we're talking about where Ellie is either they're kind of messing with her character a little bit, or maybe Bella isn't quite portraying it. It's like Jesse and then this young guy who's like portraying him is just freaking He's killing it, dude. I was like, immediately, I'm just like, the vibes are so there. They're so great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's great because we talk about it. And again, just because we know what's coming up, it's like they're doing a great job in building these side characters, like you guys mentioned earlier, for us to care about them. You know what I mean? They're not just kind of NPCs or throwaways or just some people you run across or there to support your journey. We attach to the characters, especially for me, Dina. I just enjoy watching that character kind of think it through. You know what I mean? She's like the anti-Ellie in terms of problem solving. And I mentioned it earlier, but just to go back to it, like she has a plan about how to get to Seattle. Then when we see her talking to Tommy about, hey, Ellie's like, we need to do this now. And you see Dina just kind of roll her eyes and she audibly says something. It's like, hey, we need to go about this diplomatically. You know, you can see Dina just kind of, right. And then with Seth too. And then as Seth has kind of had that terrible moment in the first episode, and now he's kind of, I don't want to say redeeming himself because that's not necessarily the case.
But we're seeing complexity, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so
like people aren't one note, and like that's a great moment. Like, and that's all that moment that you said, like of the dance, and then maybe his apology or whatever. Those are the only moments we get of Seth in the game. You know what I mean?
I don't even remember Seth in the game, but in this,
I don't even remember the apology. But I was like,
yeah, the apology.
Seth's an asshole.
He also gives them sandwiches in the game. Of course, it's to Dina and Ellie. Funny enough, I think it is to Ellie or whatever, and Ellie's gonna go to Dina, but she still gives it away to Jesse. Funny enough, but that moment still does happen. It's slightly different, but it's pretty similar.
But like the Dina in that moment when Seth is like, hey, I did this, I did that, and it's, and it's unforgivable what he said, but Dina's like, hey, maybe it's like you can make it up for it by doing this, or you can help maybe, fix that bridge you burnt. And so she's like, when Ellie's like, whatever, or kind of shrugs it off, Dina's like, oh, fuck. You know what I mean? Like Dina is the voice of reason.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like, for as much as I'm not a big fan of the flirtiness, like in the tent. To me, the tent felt so out of place. The tent part in this episode.
Did you?
To me, it did because there's a lot of grief. There's a lot
I was like, we have not talked about this kiss at all. Like for me, I was like, I need like.
Oh my God.
Moved on. Like the kiss happened.
I'm in the
Jesse
middle.
talked about it, and then
That
I'm
was
like,
a really great example of a horrible idea.
stupid. Dina and Ellie have not talked about it because so much has happened. You know what I mean? But it's like, let's go ahead and bring it up. Like when they were passing out in there, I was like, are we really just going to have this tension? And I don't know. I enjoy the way it's getting played out because it is very awkward, unsure where we are. Kind of, I don't know. It's interesting to me, I think. So
I think the show is kind of put in a hard spot of how much grief can we show, and then how can we fit these other moments that need to be put in there, but aren't grieving moments.
Because otherwise it becomes like a Debbie Downer show.
Going and getting revenge and stuff. All these things that need to happen still, but they kind of can feel off if they're not in the right place.
Yeah. Otherwise, you fuel this show with like hate and anger, and because of where it's going and the positions they take, there has to be some levity, and this is like the only levity we'll get, I think. So, I mean, there is that point too, Lizzie. You're absolutely right. It's just for me, it's like when it gets to be so serious, and then you've got these two girls going cross country, and they're good for the sole purpose to kill someone, and they think it's going to be easy. And we know it's not. And it's like, oh, let's talk about a kiss on New Year's and rate my kiss. Like, who the fuck? That's the least of the things you should be thinking about right now.
Ages. They're like 19 or something, are they?
I think they're younger than
but
that.
Wasn't Rate My Kiss in the game?
I don't know.
Yes.
Was it?
It was.
Was it?
The thing is, it happens before Joel dies.
Yeah.
That whole talk happens like a week after they kiss, maybe less. And so to say like, oh, it's now 3 months later, Joel is dead.
The next day. They have that conversation the next day.
It's the next day. And so the fact that they changed that was one thing that I didn't know if they'd bring it up again and that's why I was kind of upset they had Ellie with Jesse instead of with Dina, because I was like, they had an important conversation. They talked about quite a few things when they were bunking down from the snowstorm. So I'm hoping some of those things still come up, but now it's happening in a totally different place, and it's interesting.
That's when it happened, right? It was on the snowstorm, and that's kind of the bigger change that we get because Ellie and Dina were together when they're, so yeah, I guess they had to get to it to kind of build the relationship going forward, depending on where they take it. Just for me,
like Ellie and Dina are about to be like the main two now, basically, right?
Yeah,
like we just, or at least we're assuming that from seeing this episode, we're like they're headed off to Seattle, like we're gonna follow them now. You know what I mean? So it's like we're gonna see some relationship building, just like we did in the first season with Joel and with Ellie.
Yeah.
And we have time for it, you know what I mean? If it's gonna go well, and if this all works out and all that. So it's like, I don't know.
Well,
For me, I'm like, why not? And why not have it be like not quite a closed conversation? Like we're done.
Yeah.
But the rate
That's what I'm holding out. I'm like, they have a plan. They're doing this for a reason, and we do need. You can't. The game is fighting focused kind of, and
Sure.
you can't have that in a TV show. So
no, we're telling a story instead. So.
Yes, let this man cook.
sorry, I don't know what that was.
What was it?
Yes, let this man cook.
Let this woman.
Let us cook. Let's cook.
I mean, yeah.
But I gotta say, I'm gonna
true.
go back to Seth for a moment. If you guys are
Okay,
with
yeah, I'm ready.
can we go back to Jesse? Actually,
What the fuck
it.
did
Listen,
you
when
just
I'm
say?
locked down in a tent, we're just gonna like gossip.
Ooh.
That would be bullshit then, wouldn't it, my darling?
So Seth, I gotta say, I kind of love that we went back to Seth and we gave him this, and it feels so true to like whatever I think Seth's character is, because it's like there's kind of a moment you're like he was very bigoted, you know what I mean?
For
He
sure.
was like,
Yeah.
and
Can I
and
play?
sometimes-
Can I play it? Can I play the speech? I have it.
you have it?
I do have it.
This
the
one
whole-
in the new episode?
Oh, yeah, not the old
Okay,
one.
yeah. So we got a speech here that, like I said, this council scene wasn't in the game, so
Okay.
we were all new to this, and Seth never got anything else. So
All right.
yeah, let's hear it.
All right, I'm going to send it now.
They came into our house. They took one of ours. My God, somebody shoots your brother. You want to take the locks off your doors? Grow up! You idiots. They'll come back. They'll come back because we didn't make them pay. And when they come back, they'll be laughing. And you'll all deserve it. Bunch of goddamn victims.
Goddamn victims. I fucking love that. I'm going to let you talk, Jessica, and then usually, but I have some very
I'm just
strong
saying
thoughts about this.
If you like kind of take this character and like look at, we're like, what kind of stereotypical stuff could we think of him? Like, this is so in the wheelhouse of that, where it's like calling everybody a victim. It's almost along the lines of calling them, freaking snowflake or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it has
Yeah.
those same vibes that generally come from some people who also could be considered bigoted at times. And so to me, I was like, but it's the way that the show does this. And again, this is what I love about the game and now what they're doing with the show is like they're gonna show us all different types of people from different walks of life. Like it's something that they've done so well in the game and again are doing so good in this show. And this is like a moment of that. This is a moment of like, here's a character that we may not fully agree with at all and has definitely had a moment of like, you don't seem like a good person. And yet there's going to be times that you're like, it's like, we kind of agree with him. You know what I mean? Like it's fine. He's going to have a point every once in a while. And even though we may not like this dude, we're going to be like, we kind of agree with him. And then especially where he goes by the end of this, where he's all like, this is for our cause or whatever that whole thing is and stuff. And he's helping out and stuff. It's like, it's just those moments that I'm like, this is so true to human nature. Like it's hardly ever you have somebody who's so black and white. And it's just like, I can't stand talking to this person about this thing. And therefore I hate. It's like, that's not as like, that's more rare than when you run into people where you're like, oh yeah, they say some things sometimes, but other times like, I'm like, no, you're pretty chill, like, like it's just, to me, it felt so true. And I'm like, I just love that about this show in general. I feel like they do such a good job of introducing us to different types of people.
Yeah, which we got introduced to some more new types of people.
We'll come back. I'm coming back to that.
You don't
Hold
want to
on.
talk about
I will.
it?
I do. I want to talk about. I know where you're going. I'll take it, but let me talk about Seth real quick
That was
because
such a good segue, Chris. You got to jump in if you have something to say.
I do. I don't want to cut you off. I want to give everybody the chance to, and Lizzie, you can definitely take it after this. But I feel what's great about the Seth speech is that he is he's the place of the audience, right? Like the audience feels that way. The audience is like, hey, we're watching a TV show. Let's get out there. Let's bring revengeance back. You know what I mean? Like, I think that for the most,
maybe you,
but I would definitely me. Don't get me wrong. In this instance, I'm not advocating what Seth said in the first episode, but I am definitely team Seth when it comes to what he said in the meeting. You bunch of goddamn victims. And so for me, it's like everything he said rings true, and also it rings true to Ellie. Well, that's why the camera keeps cutting back to her, because he is saying exactly what she is thinking, but not what she says. And that's important. There's an important distinction there, because she has to put on, she obviously follows Seth too, by the way. But she has to tell people what they want to hear, not what she wants to say. And I think, to me, that's a big part of it. That's why we get the cut back to the therapist rolling her eyes, and she's like, yeah, motherfucker, we know how you really feel. You know, and I think that that's a big, it's big part of it to me, because Seth in that moment embodies Ellie, and Ellie, and we're not saying Seth is right, but like you said, Jessica, in that moment, he aligns with her point of view. And so these connections are made, and not across entire beliefs, but it's funny how when something kind of comes your way and, you know, you may hate someone, but in that moment, in a time of need, if they have the same point of view as you do, all of a sudden you kind of question everything about that person. And just to piggyback off with what you said, the game does such a great job with that, because on a bigger scale, it's probably how probably how Abby feels too. That's probably exactly how she feels. So,
I mean, yeah, we had some of those speeches to our own group and stuff about, you know, going and doing things. I mean, I still took the cuts to Ellie of just being like shocked that he is the person who is kind of taking her side. You know what I mean? But I get you that it is a moment of still being like, well, he's saying what I want to say. You know what I mean? Like, this is kind of like we are on the same wavelength right now. And which is crazy, because, you know, like they said 3 weeks ago or whatever, it was not that way at all.
Right. And it's interesting too, also, I think the council votes 8-3 to not go after. And I was going to ask you guys, the 3 people that voted yes, do you think that's Maria, Tommy, and Jesse? Because they say very specifically, and I think you can count them out. Like,
yeah. It is 3 yeses.
I know that, but like, who says it? Like, who says it? Yes?
At the end of the episode, they give like part of that away. Like, and for me, I'll be honest, I didn't think Maria voted yes.
I didn't either.
Yeah, really? I thought for sure Tommy and for sure Jesse, and I was like, and some other random person.
I was like, it's if I was stuck, because I was like, I can't see her voting for that because it's not for the best of the community. But her husband's brother just died.
Yeah.
If he ever found out that she voted no, like,
that's true.
That would be a big thing. So I was like, I don't think she would. But then I was kind of like, well, Tommy's right there, right next to her. So maybe.
And there is like a change in the game here for that moment too, right? Because Maria exists in the game and is the same, married with Tommy. In the game, though, she has a moment where she actually is the one that comes over to Ellie's, or technically Joel's house, and Ellie and Joel's house or whatever, and meets up there. But it's when they've already decided that Dina and her are going to go off on this thing. And she basically kind of catches them, you know what I mean? And it's like kind of resigning to like, I had told you not to do this, but now I'm going to go ahead. And the thing is, she gives them permission basically, and she allows them to take a horse and allows them to go. And that's how it goes down in the game. It's a little different because the whole part of her motivation is because Tommy has already gone after them.
Yeah. That's a big difference.
It's like, that's a huge shift from like this so far, right? Is that it's like she comes over and she's all like, Tommy took off and he is going after them. And so now, you know, I know you're going too. And I think Tommy leaves a letter saying, don't let Ellie go. You know what I mean? Like something like that being like to Maria and stuff that like she's probably going to try to come, don't. And instead Maria goes, no, go and bring my stupid husband back, basically, kind of thing. And so, or she adds that as part of the motivation, but she supports her. So it is cool because it's like there is a mirroring, at least there, of like the support. Like if Maria is the third vote, then she did technically go ahead and support it, probably because of the past with Joel, because of Tommy and things like that.
I have a question.
Yeah, huge difference between the game in that moment. You know what I mean? Especially because, as far as we know, Tommy's still there. Tommy's still in Jacksonville.
I have a question. So you both have a sister, and this is very like kind of based in the sibling realm.
You have a brother?
I do, and I expect you to ask me the same question. And
the sister we don't ever talk about. Just kidding.
If, for instance, Tommy has a great conversation with Ellie when Ellie's like, let's fucking go get these guys. And she says Tommy like, hey, if that happened
if it
to
was
you,
us.
Exactly. So that's my question.
Win.
So for if your sister has been taken, do you go after them immediately? Or if they've been killed, do you go after them immediately? Like in the
which sister?
So
Let me share a story of the time my sisters thought I had been kidnapped.
we don't have time for that, but I'd love to talk to you about
They
that further.
waited for me to call them. They didn't do anything.
Long story short.
So then we're of the whole wait and see situation here.
I mean, it's a hard thing to think about because we're not in the post-apocalyptic kind of world.
Yeah, it's such
someone's
a
been
different
bashed to
scenario.
But I do think there would be some vengeance-y feelings and justice, I think, right? Justice feeling and things like that. How do you feel,
But did
Chris?
they said Joel wouldn't go after, didn't they?
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that for a second. Like, I think that's Tommy just like trying to quell Ellie. I think that vengeance is who Joel has always been. And I think vengeance is a very human, like I don't know if it's an emotion or instinct or what, but yeah, man, I would fucking set fire to the fucking planet. If somebody had done that to my sibling, and I think you guys are the same way. The only reason I ask is because I think the director and the writer are really playing the audience here. They're playing us not just against losing Joel, who everybody loves from season 1 because of what he did with Ellie, because he's kind of a scoundrel, and we talked about this last episode, but also Pedro Pascal, who's a wonderful actor and even a better human, as Jessica will advocate for. So like losing those two like attributes to this show, the audience is like, get the fuck out there, go kill these people and let's be done with it. Like, I really think we're being manipulated by Ellie's point of view, by Seth's right speech. Like, I just think that we're being manipulated to do that. And I really want to run the spoiler siren because I feel like that's a big deal.
That's like what the game was too, though, right? Like the game.
Well, we can't talk about the game yet. Remember?
No, the first game, we can say that's exactly what he did. Ellie was going to be killed, and he went and he killed everyone. And if he had not succeeded, what would he have done? Would he have just killed even more people there? Like, and so like we know what he would do.
Yeah.
As someone playing as someone who playing the game, when you are actively playing like in this moment and stuff, I don't think any of us are like, we're not good. Like, oh yeah, she shouldn't go after. Nobody playing the game. Everyone's feeling that same way. Like we should feel like, completely in the Ellie train right now of like,
especially in the game. Yeah, we don't know why Abby killed Joel. We just know he did something. He did a lot of bad things in his past, and she's mad that he killed someone. And so we are like, fuck this girl. We're going to go kill her.
Really, So it's definitely different in this one for sure. I will say too, like the Tommy stuff, like is so far is pretty damn different. And another scene that we get with Tommy is with the psychiatrist at the like baseball, the little league game, right? Which was pretty cute, by the way, I'm going to say. And again, I just keep going back to being like, this psychotherapist is like,
I love her.
Like, what what a great character they
Yeah.
added.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like so fun. Like, you know what I mean? But that moment that Tommy is having, he's talking with her and he actually kind of says, I think Joel has put her off onto like this sort of, you know, path or whatever the heck it is. I think there's something like that. And then she has to be like, nurture's really only like this much and nature is like really what it is. I think that they've always been on the same path.
I'd like to play something about that. Okay, hang on one second. Okay, I'm just going to play that clip from the
Better not
show.
be a mean one.
It's not. No,
you're
yeah,
right.
it's from what you're talking about. And to be fair, this is my favorite part in the entire episode.
Turns out nurture can only do this much. The rest is nature. If she's on a path, it's not one that Joel put her on. Yeah. No, I think they were walking side by side from the very start.
Yeah.
Tommy, I get it. You inherited her, and you want to keep her out of trouble. Take it from a psychotherapist of 40 years. Some people just can't be saved.
Man, this pause is there.
I know.
But also that last line, I felt like I'm gonna say that was a little bit brutal, but
I was like, you know, I was like, whoa, way to go over the top. But I think the show creators tried to kind of make this relevant in the first season, which threw me off because first game, Ellie is very innocent. She's sassy. She tries to be an adult when she's still a child kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they changed it in the show in that they kind of gave her a bit of, oh, I killed this person and I kind of felt a thrill about it kind of thing. Or
there's some violence in her already.
I'm not as bothered. I'm already a little bit violent and stuff. So I think they're changing Ellie's character a little bit through that, but I see what they're talking about and they're keeping to it.
Dude, that's so good. I didn't think about that until you just said it. It's apparent to me, as I recall what you said, when she finds the, I don't know what it is, when they're at the convenience store and she like stabs its eye and she's like excited to kill it. Like she was, you know what I mean?
That can't move, but it's just,
it's like cooked into the wall or whatever. But like, she's actually excited to do that. And that's true. I didn't think about that until you said it, Lizzie, but that's a good point. I actually don't like that. For me, it's like the fact that maybe she has this underlying like proclivity toward being violent, which some people do, but I don't want to think that that's like Ellie's, I guess, prerogative, but the therapist thinks that, and she makes that great point. It's like some people are who they are. That's just who they fucking are. And there is this grand scheme in life where you will find people that are like you and you will kind of orbit around them. And, you know, again, it's this game talking about bigger themes in life. And I think maybe that's where they do take it. I don't like the idea of that, but it's kind of unmistakable in how they're kind of angling it for sure, especially with what that therapist just said in that clip. So
yeah, I think they're leaning into it so much more for sure.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think it just keeps bringing me back to in the game, first game, Ellie was very innocent. So the change to the second game was enormous.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas in the show, they've showed she's already got a bit of violence in her. And to the second season, you know, we love Jesse. We love Dina. We love these people. They're showing all these great characteristics. And I feel like Ellie and Bella Ramsey are kind of being still stuck in the first season. And it's just the circumstances are making it seem like she's younger than she should be, in my opinion.
I gotta be like honest with you. I do think she had more of an innocence to her in the first game, but I thought that bitch was violent. I'm all like, I don't know if you guys remember, like when you're attacking people and she like jumps up on their shoulders and is like stabbing people and things like that. When you're attacking people and stuff, like, and just the way she goes at people, like with her aggressiveness in the game, like even in the first game, you know, when they meet up with Bill for the first time and she's just like just going at him, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, this girl's always had some anger and some violence in her. It's just we got to explore it more and they leaned into it. Like, it wasn't as overt, I will say that, but it made sense to me that it's like that they were the same they had the same tendencies, that like Joel and Ellie were very similar in the first game. Like, to me, that already made sense before we got to the show. So I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I again, I'm with you that it's like, I hope we see some progress and some changes. Otherwise it's going to kind of,
yeah, I see where you're coming from. She did have some violence. I think she just had more innocence that they didn't show,
like
and just
a lot of
more
naivety.
Wonder with the world.
The wonder is a good point too. You know what I mean? So it came off very innocency, I think, is what you're saying. For sure.
Because she had been in such a small town her whole life. She had never been into the outside world, kind of thing.
Yeah,
and so we got to see. I don't know,
some more vulnerable points probably than we kind of did.
When you feel bad for her, right? Like, it's a kid growing up in like a post-apocalyptic violent world. You know what I mean? Like, they have to grow up so fast. So,
but anyway, do we want to get to the
new people, Lizzie? There were some
the new people.
We get this whole scene of some people that were like, what is this even for? What
Can
is
you
this
feel the
thing?
tension
And
in the air right now? I know I can. I can feel it all the way down in my plums.
Oh my God, we got to take that away from him.
With a light blue hue to them.
I'm just excited to hear the new people. I am.
A little too excited.
Yeah, a little too
excited. Oh my gosh.
All right, Lizzie, tell us, who are these new people?
So they don't think they announce their names, but
they
we
do
know what
not
their names
say
are.
the names, and unless you watch the the after show kind of thing after the episode. But we see these people walking with scars. They're obviously trying to get away from something, communicating with whistles.
The whistles.
Take oh my God, the whistles.
They already even. I love that we got a little bit more of a picture, like, of just like a scene of these Seraphites, is what they're called. In the game, it's not quite that. You don't ever spend moments like this kind of with them. And God, it was so cool, because then it's like she was translating what the whistles were for, and like learning that the little girl was and stuff. And I was just like, this is so cool. And we quickly in a game, you have the time to like explore and find things and sort of learn about people. And that's kind of what happens, right? And it's like, so we figure out who the Seraphites are and that they are this religious group and stuff. But it's like, now we were just basically told it. But I really liked it. Like, again, they came off as like, okay, this is just like another group of people. And yeah, they might be religious fanatics, but they're trying to do right by their own people. It looks like a father-daughter, and it's like he's being protective of her, teaching her the ways, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So I actually really dug that we had this moment with them.
I loved seeing it. And I even loved, because, this is a group who's very religious, obviously. But when the little girl says, like, where will the
prophet,
or however they refer to it, the prophet like protect us, kind of thing, and the guy's like, she's long dead,
she's locked.
And I was like,
so dumb.
Wow, what's some like clarity where they're not just relying on this person, this prophet, to save them. Like, obviously this prophet existed at one time, but she's gone, and so it's like, what are they running from? And they're very aware that, hey, we got to run. There's no prophet here to save us, even if we do believe in the things the prophet has said.
Yeah, I dig it. Chris,
it's so dumb.
So dumb.
All I can.
Rude.
I mean, it's interesting. I think that the introduction to the Seraphites obviously is going to play a huge part in Abby's story as we get further. But like, I think the after show, they had mentioned that it's a father-daughter talking, and that's kind of been like a through line through season 1, and now, and it's just like, Lizzie says I'm dumb. There might be some truth to that, but I don't know. To me, it's like it was such a brief introduction. I think that we'll get more of their story expanded upon next episode. But the Seraphites are very important to the series, or to this season. But I mean, as far as what they're saying, it's kind of confusing. It feels cultish. It feels,
It is cultish.
Oh yeah.
Right, but
I think it should feel that way.
and it feels archaic too. Like they're talking about hammers.
Yeah.
Like
Going back to old times and stuff. I mean,
the fuck
I don't
is
know.
that though? Like to me, it's like it's such a reversion to where we are. Like,
But that's people even nowadays do that stuff where they're like, women still should not be working. Like,
Yeah.
there should still be traditional values in the families. Like, people still look at religion, especially in religion, and do go like, you know what? We need to go back to basics. Make America
It's-
great again.
It's very interesting. Oh my God, let's get away from that. It's very interesting that in this world, we haven't really seen any other religions. I don't really remember someone being very highly religious in the game.
That's
And
fair.
then you get to this, and it's a totally new thing. And your first thought is, wow, this is a cult kind of thing. Like, whoa, what's wrong with these
They
people?
have giant
Yeah.
scars on their face, and
Yeah,
are wearing
yeah.
these
So it's just like seeing them walk
clothes.
down the road and having a conversation and hearing the normality, and also that thing where he says she's not going to save us. So it's not like delusion of, and it's not a peaceful person there carrying weapons kind of thing. I think it's very interesting. Look into it before we get to find out who they really are.
especially about what those people are capable of. Like all I kept thinking of,
It's so dumb.
and so for me, and of obviously religion. I don't want to get into that part of it, but like, when in the post-apocalyptic kind of landscape, I would imagine, religion kind of going first, but then obviously some fervor. I mean, Stephen King has made a living on it, saying some religious fanatic would be like, well, I'll save you, just do this. And just thought it was a little interesting that Neil Druckmann kind of took that position when writing this. But again, I mean, to be fair, the WLF needs an adversary, and the Seraphites seem like they will be that adversary. But as soon as we run the spoiler flag, we can get more into that. So,
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like there would definitely be some big religious groups if we hit a zombie apocalypse.
do you
or
think that
any
really?
kind of
Do
apocalypse?
you think that?
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I would
Think
love
about,
to
I
explore
mean,
that further.
yeah, totally. We used to really like the series The Leftovers. Do you remember that one, Chris?
Of course, I fucking do. It's the best. The
And
best
that
I've
one
ever
has
seen.
there's a big religious-y cult thing that's a big thing of that. And to me it makes sense. It's like as soon as there's some big kind of worldly thing, someone's gonna people are gonna jump on that.
Although that
Yeah.
was based on the rapture, which is kind of a biblical event anyway. So it was kind of like the basis of the events happening in Leftovers was based on a biblical event. So it would, yes, absolutely.
That's what people were calling it, but was that really what it was?
That's a great point. Best
Yeah.
TV show I've ever seen was season 2 of The Leftovers. Fucking with the fucking
Dang, you
bullet.
just said it.
It's incredible.
Damn.
Anyway,
But we eventually get Ellie and Dina stumbling on where these people last left off, and they are wiped out, like completely wiped out. And that's the crazy thing to me is like they're wiped out. They see the kid, and it's very alarming. And then they're like, they think it's Abby, right? Like they're just like,
Yeah.
if this is them, then like they're terrible. And like, it's crazy. It's like the justification, right? It starts to be like, no, we can't do this. But I had that moment where I was like, they just wiped out this giant group of people. When you saw there was like 5 of them, and you're like, they wiped out all these people, and you're just kind of like, this will be easy when they see Zero. I was like, okay. Here's some.
Yeah.
That was my thought.
My thought, I was kind of, I mean, I understood why, but I was also like, the amount of shock they show in seeing the bodies and stuff. I was trying to figure out, I was like, is it they're shocked because they think Abby did this? And it's like, wow, or is it just shock at the, the mindless destruction of this, which I would think they would be used to? Like, or is it just that it was a child they saw killed? And,
Mhm.
I was just wondering that because I'm like, Ellie has been out and about. She knows people
Yeah.
target kids. She was targeted herself. So part of me was kind of like, the reactions to this are a little interesting. And
Yeah.
I was like,
maybe because it is a large group of people and it's not like infected kills, right? Like, because I think
yeah,
that's one thing that they're probably more used to, although they have had other groups do things, but maybe they haven't, maybe she just hasn't seen it like this. You know what I mean?
Like humans killing humans type of thing. Like
yeah,
not
and in that
infected.
large of amount. You know what I mean? Like you see a
Yeah.
couple strays every once in a while, you're like, okay, but it's like,
I mean, we've run into freaking cannibalists at this point, so
I mean,
she
that is
can't
a
be
fair
that.
point.
Why isn't she?
Yeah,
I know, right?
So that was one part where I was like, she looks a little too shocked about this. She's been out in the real
that's
world.
again a good.
But-
Lizzie's on fucking fire tonight. That's a good point because honestly, and again, I wonder if it's again. I don't want to see the acting part of it because I'm sure the director was like, act this specific way you've never
You
seen
could
this
be
before.
appalled.
But
Because
yeah,
I think
Yeah.
it's the justification thing again. She sees it all, and then she's being like, "This is Abby's work," and she killed like what looks like innocent people, including kids, and that is true. If you like were like this person killed like the kid, that would be like, oh, like that's especially
Yeah.
in her mind, even though because she's like, those are the bad people. But I'm kind of
Yeah.
with you that it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, I guess maybe if they hadn't said that, it wouldn't be as quite justified for her, at least. For Dina, maybe. You know what I mean? We can believe that she gets sick from the smell or whatever.
are we going to talk about
Yeah.
that? We're going to talk about.
We'll move on and then we'll come back.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, I was like, this was another moment in the episode where I had conflicted feelings of, I love that they showed it, but yeah, the reactions and stuff, I was like, I want more.
No, it's true.
I'm feeling greedy this episode. I just feel like everything was just a little bit like below reaction of what I wanted. I wanted them to have very strong reactions about everything, and I didn't feel like I got that this episode, and it kept hitting me in different parts.
Oh,
So
okay. Copy.
that's kind of why I'm also like, why weren't they more angry or sad? Or they just looked absolutely shocked, and I was like, why would they? Let me try and justify this reaction instead of putting on what I think my reaction would be or what I wanted the reaction to be.
It'll be interesting to see when we actually get to if they
Yes.
end up finding everybody and doing this and having to because their plan is to take them out. So if they're actually going to find humans and kill them for this stuff they've done, it's then yeah, I do imagine you have to be pretty angry in that moment to do that. You know what I mean? Otherwise, we haven't really had Ellie killing people unless it's felt very justified. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm with you. We're going to have to see a little bit more if this is the train we're on.
Yeah, there's I think it was probably the first game poster that came out for Last of Us 2. And it's a picture of Ellie, and she's got blood splattered on her face, and she's looking towards the camera, and she just looks so angry. And I think every time
we got time to get
Oh
there.
yeah, absolutely. We got time. But I think I keep going back to that thought because it's just such a good view of it. And I think I'm going to be really upset if we don't get there at some point.
I think that is fully fair. There's been this thing going around that's showing kind of Ellie through the stages. People have gotten pictures of her from the first game and things, and then her kind of growth stages because you'll see it at some point or whatever. But there is this one we're currently in. It's there is the next one. I think is the one you're talking about, and so that's why I'm okay. It's gotta come at some point. And you're right. If it isn't there at that point, then it'll be very disappointing.
There's a lot coming.
Yeah.
So we get a glimpse of Seattle at the end, right? Oh, sorry, Chris. Did you have anything?
No, I'm hey, a lot coming. That means spoiler siren time, guys.
Almost right.
Okay.
Last thing, right? Seattle. These two think it's going to be really easy just because it's a dead looking city. And then we get to see there's a freaking army, right? And so this does feel, this is very much like a classic kind of in the range of episodes where you're you hit around the third or fourth episodes when you kind of are we're setting up and then we're going to get into things, right?
Yeah.
So
they've got the army, they've got the watch out, they've, Abby, the person that was there with Abby and her Ellie is there. Manny, thank you. Keeping watch, and so they're in the right place, but I think they got some surprises for them.
All I could think about was
I promised her this fucks up my plan. This is fucking bullshit. Okay? These fucking assholes, these fucking assholes! The fuck is their problem, man?
all I could think about is at the end of the episode when they're like, we're going to roll in there and take out this group of 5, and they have fucking 6 tanks and like 70 people armored with automatic weapons. In my mind, I'm like, I'm ready to hit the spoiler flag because I have real issues with where this could go.
Let's do it, baby.
Okay. Holy shit, she's in.
Stick around.
Spoiler flags up. Okay, I want to go first. So no, I'm going first.
Are here. The spoilers are here for we are talking about the game, what we know about the game, and what happens in the future. So again, this is your last chance to turn back if you do not want spoilers for what could possibly happen in the season.
That's true.
And there will be a lot of spoilers. So
Yes.
please leave.
So so after we saw the whole fucking army walk past, and that's only part of it, I'm sure, right? Because they've got all of, I think, the stadium kind of locked down with this entire brigade of soldiers and tanks and fucking everything. Like, in my mind, I'm thinking, in the game, you kind of run through these people. There's no fucking way that 2 19-year-old girls are going to go up against this army of people and just lay waste to them. To me, I am exceptionally excited to see how they tackle that. And if they make fucking like Ellie a Terminator, I'm out. Like, I'm going to trash this show until the end of the fucking world if they turn her into a Terminator.
This is like, that is what kind of like the thing is that they are very well backed up and they have a big system and they, you know what I mean? So we go in there and at first, like when in the game you go in, it's first pretty abandoned and it's like you see the WLF in several places, but there's all these stations that are abandoned. And you're like, something's happened, but maybe it's cleared out until
lots of
they
gates you got to get through. Generators.
Until they hit a trap and then they get like caught and there's, you know what I mean? And then we start to like, they get further into it and they learn the whole radio system and like they're set up in all these places. So it gets big for them, but definitely they still had a sense in the beginning that they were just like, this feels pretty abandoned and stuff, or there's not a lot of people around. And then there was. So I'm with you. I think it'll be hopefully similar where it's not going to be, you know, they go in and then suddenly they're facing the army. It should be like groups at a time and then realizing that this is much bigger and it is going to be harder to find, you know,
I think
it's not just the 5 of them.
I think you guys are forgetting, and even one of the creators said, we got a lot of extreme weather coming. So it's not going to be so easy as just walking down the street.
Oh gosh, that was the best too. I know. I'm actually really excited about. I hope that like the fact that they said that. I'm so happy you said that because that makes me so excited for like things to come. And if they are able to show us that and do things with that, that's gonna be so fun.
I was like, I was like, the amount of money they're gonna have to do and spend to make it like the game is crazy. But I so hope that they flood the hell out of everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you guys think so with all the Tommy changes, right? So like Tommy changes are big and I get it still kind of works to not send Tommy in first because like Ellie was going to go no matter what, you know what I mean? But that's kind of her excuse the whole time when it's getting like, hey, we should go back or not, or what are we doing? She keeps saying like, oh, I got to go for Tommy and stuff like that. So that's kind of out the door. And then, I mean, does he end up coming for her? Is that like where we're going instead? You know what I mean? Like, is Jesse still going to come for her? Like, what do you guys think?
I think Jesse will absolutely come.
I think so too.
Same.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much that happens with Jesse and all that stuff. Honestly, we're going after Tommy in the game, but we never catch up until like right at the end, very end of the game. And so and even then it wasn't like integral. I think we might have helped him a little bit or he helped us, but it wasn't like we're saving him, he's saving us kind of thing. It was just like we ran into you. You go do this, I'm going to go do this kind of thing. We
finally tracked him down by tracking down the person that he's also tracking down.
Yeah.
And it's like how they run in because they're like, why is there this sniper and blah, blah, blah.
I'm wondering if they're keeping him at Jackson so that they can, if they go back to Jackson and show anything that's happening there, Tommy can be part of that cast.
Interesting. You know what I thought was interesting about Chris, did you have any other things before I move on?
No, I don't. I think that it'll kind of play out how it plays out, but I'm just excited to see kind of the Jesse interaction, because once he gets to Washington, like at that point, in my opinion, the snowball is the car is going and there are no brakes. And I think that we'll see how far they're willing to take this version of the show into the game at that point. That's all I'm going to say about it.
I was so interested to see that Isaac is coming in, and I think I've mentioned this before too. But again, I think he's coming in next episode now, and it's like that's way earlier than we meet him in the game. Which again, a lot of this is much earlier than we in the game, which is fine. So he's gonna. I think they're trying to make him like our real big bad. I guess they have to kind of establish him, because at some point when Abby actually kind of does flip sort of sides or whatever, that's the kind of the face off, is that it's like Isaac is the main, you know what I mean? Yeah. So maybe that's part of it.
He is definitely the evil in the story. You know, Abby and Ellie are situational evil in terms of like what side you're on, depending on perspective. But I think Isaac is just evil.
Yeah, he's
overarching, right?
He's the torturer. He's the I don't care if I kill kids. Like, he's the bad. So they're just introducing him a lot earlier, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about the fact that Jesse might show up and Dina and Ellie haven't kind of done that almost second kiss?
It's weird.
Haven't figured out their relationship.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Dina stuff. Do we think it's going to happen?
It's got to, right?
I
feel like it still has to.
I think to me, the kid is such a big part too. Like I know, I wanted to ask about it.
The pregnancy?
Yes. Do you think that she threw up when they found the Seraphites because she was pregnant, or because she was like, right? Like
I was like, I kept thinking like, are they going to cut the pregnancy? But as soon as she threw up, I was like, okay, cool. They're keeping it.
I'm happy they're keeping it.
Yes, me too.
In the game, Ellie finds some happiness with
by the
Dina
end
and stuff, and then gives it up. And I don't think it would be hit the same if it's just, me and Dina are like girlfriend at the end.
It's a little more serious, settled down.
Like they have pretty much a family, and so I think it's smart. And also, Dina gets sick; she can't help Ellie after a while. So what would be the reason of that if there's just so much things that the pregnancy
oh my god
layers in, like, especially for Mel too, you know what I mean?
I was gonna say, I was like, Mel. With Mel,
I'm like, right now I'm so curious if they I feel like they still have to follow that up again. I like, my last thing I said before was I was like, you can't kill a pregnant woman, but I keep being like,
they would,
you know what I mean?
To be fair, she didn't know she was pregnant.
She didn't, and I think that's how we get away with it.
That's another thing, though. She kills Mel or something. Oh yes, and then when Abby's gonna kill Dina, she's like, she's pregnant, and she's like, good kind of thing. So I was like, I think they need that in there, and they better keep that line of just, no, she's pregnant, and be like, good.
We'll see. Yeah.
Pure revenge.
I'd be so interested to see. I think they do have to get together. I do have some of the trailer. There's a point at the very end of the trailer that shows Dina holding a gun out to Ellie. Yeah. And I think that's where they're going to put in the whole she has to tell her that she's immune thing. I think that's where it's going to happen now. Like, I think I know they have to get the spores in there. I know that's going to happen. And that's how we find out in the game. But it's like, to me, I'm like, if she was to get bit or something like that, or maybe it is spores, but then when they get back, she still thinks she's infected. I'm not quite sure.
No, I think she's going to get bit and stuff. And the thing is, like, because Ellie wasn't with Dina during the snowstorm, Ellie told her the truth during the snowstorm.
Yeah.
That, like, what is this burn? What'd you get from? And she was like, I got bit.
Inflicted to hide it. Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
and
so
Dina thinks she's joking.
Is that conversation still coming? Like, that's a good question.
See, but that's one thing where I was like, that showed like how close they were and how much Ellie liked her, that she was like, I'm going to share this secret that I'm not supposed to tell anyone.
True.
And then just to see people be like, psh, that doesn't exist. No one's immune, kind of thing. So that's what I was kind of like, oh, they changed things. I hope I hope some of those things come back around.
It's weird how the subtle changes kind of ripple into big ass changes. Like, because honestly, Dina has to be pregnant by now, right? Like, she has to be pregnant.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So when Jesse dies, and they go back, because you had mentioned it, Ellie does find peace, but only through like resignment, because she finds peace after the warehouse, after the theater, when Abby leaves them and says like, hey, get the fuck out of here. But then they've killed Jesse, they've wounded Tommy, like they're like, get the fuck out of here, we don't want to hurt anybody else. So like, she found peace, but only because she accepted that she couldn't avenge everybody. And then, you know what I mean? Maybe that's something about a character later on.
And then Tommy comes along.
I know. And I said that it's such an important part, right? Like, that's such an important part to me in the game that kind of takes into that third part, because you have Abby and Lev, who me and Jessica talk about this all the time. Lev and Abby are such an interesting pair, and what Lev means to like a specific community is really just a great credit to what Last of Us is willing to do and say and write into their creative endeavor. But like, Lev needs to be in fucking this. He needs to be in the series, or they need to be in the series, like 100%.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
Once Lev and Abby start palling around, everybody's perception of Abby, I believe, will change like immediately. So that's what I'm excited about. I've always been excited about Abby's storyline, and so obviously that kind of revolves around the Seraphites, like you had said, Lizzie. And honestly, maybe we find out that Abby doesn't really want to hunt these people down. It's more of an Isaac thing, like Jessica alluded to, where he unfortunately is the big bad. And she's just like the soldier doing what she's told to do, which I don't remember if that's how it happens in the game or not. But I do know that her and Lev, it's the mom. It's her, Lev, and Lev's mother, I think, right? Somebody correct me on this. No?
Sister or friend? Sister?
I thought it was his
sister.
mom.
I think it's sister or friend, but
that's why
she's barely
I saw
older
them walking
than Lev.
through the forest, and I was like, "Are they trying to introduce them now?" And I was like, "But it's only a little girl. Like, you need the boy, you need Lev, and stuff." So I was like, "Oh, okay, that's not them." But I was kind of like, "Oh, are they trying to introduce them this soon?"
Yeah,
but
and like I said, it was good to kind of see there was like wholesome relationship, because the Lev thing is so unwholesome for like that group. You know what I mean? Like, that group comes off the whole time in the game as an enemy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even like, other than the fact that Abby decides to kind of like adopt this duo that then turns into just Lev kind of a thing. It's like, aside from just helping them, because they technically help her first, and then she's like their kids. It's like she does have some moral ground there where she's like, they're kids, I'm going to help them out kind of a thing. The rest of the time, they're still being attacked by Seraphites, you know what I mean? And they rejected one of their own basically through Lev. And that's kind of, you know.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. It's very interesting. I'm interested to see what happens there, because I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see where they take Abby, because there are some really irredeeming Abby moments, like where she sleeps with a married guy who has a pregnant wife.
By the way, do we think that's going to happen? Jessica and I talk about this all the fucking time. No, but do we think that Mel and Owen are going to be together? Is that like a plot point?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well,
I don't know. It would have to happen within this 3-week span, basically. Like, you know what I mean?
3 month,
like,
3 month, 3 month. 3 month.
3 month, thank you.
Yeah.
It would have to happen within that amount of time, which it could, but then it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I just was like, then her pregnancy's not as long. I don't, you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, because you're saying she wasn't there at the ski lodge. There was no pregnant lady at the ski lodge.
Not currently, yeah, and
exactly,
and they didn't like. If anything, it looked like Owen was still very about Abby. Like, was very like, they didn't say they were together, but there was just a lot of moments that you were like, this seems like overly supportive in like a kind of way. You know what I mean? And they definitely didn't bring up, like, in the game. That's one of the first kind of things that you get, is that Owen tells Abby like Mel's pregnant. You know what I mean? And so it's like, at that point they were already very much split up, and Mel is pregnant, and he just found out when they're at the ski lodge, which does complicate things more for him and stuff. And
oh wait, hey, they're already together at the ski lodge?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know
In
that.
the
My
game.
bad. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
that's the conversation. Owen and Abby are like walking through like the wintry way until they go to see Jacksonville overhead.
Yeah.
And during that is when he tells her, like, he's all like, yeah, well, Mel's pregnant, and she's just like,
He's like, we need to turn back. Mel's pregnant. And then they just happen to go through the mountain and see Jacksonville.
yeah.
So,
And so he's very much like, like nobody's gonna go for this once they see this, it's over kind of a thing. And she's like, just go kind of thing, and then she decides to go off on her own. It's kind of how it happens in the game. But and it's with that news, which kind of really works in that moment, right? Because we're like, because she's like, he's such a fucking idiot, like gets her pregnant and things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's
but it didn't
important
seem
to
like
the
that
story,
here.
though.
Fuck yeah, it is. Yeah.
I was like, Ellie killing these people and then realizing what she's done is like a huge moment of, and we know as
Yeah,
the
I'm with
player, but she doesn't, and then sees it, and you're like, "What have you done?" Kind of thing. Like
totally,
it's
a moment.
You went so off that you missed this and stuff.
Yeah, it's a moment.
Yeah, and I'm wondering too with Tommy, if Tommy is not going after Abby and is kind of more downplayed on his anger and vengeance and stuff, then how are they going to make it so that Ellie goes back out? Because it really is Tommy coming and saying like, how dare you give up? How dare you let Joel die?
It's like their roles
avenge
reverse.
him.
Yeah, their
Mhm.
roles reverse from like what we've seen, where she's the one telling him like, we need to do this, which also happens in the game. She's the one that goes to him and says like, he would do this for us, and he turns her down, but then he goes off on his own.
yeah,
like, which is
because he's like, Joel wouldn't want me to take her.
Yes.
Well, it's
And so-
interesting because real quick, I just want to interject here because when he talks to the therapist says to him, "You inherited her." So maybe we know that, we know that Ellie's going to take an ass beating by Abby later, and maybe that propagates. And also, we lose Jesse, who Jesse and Tommy have a pretty good relationship so far in the series. So maybe it's a combination of Ellie getting her ass kicked, Jesse getting killed, that causes Tommy to go out and look for Abby, or at least convince Ellie, hey, I don't know, but yeah, I guess I tend to talk
It'd
myself.
be
into it.
interesting to see the journey. I do think he can end up going after her and ending up in Seattle. I do see like that's set up enough that it would make sense that he would go for her.
I'm just trying to figure out, like, they're at the farmhouse. Like, who is going to tell Ellie you need to keep going after Abby? Who
Unless
is going
they
to
change
be
that,
that
but I'm-
person?
I'm
is
with
it
you. We're so
just
far
that she
out from
decides?
that,
Yeah,
though.
it's so far away.
I don't know
Oh,
if we are. See, I don't know if we are because
yes, we are.
No, I don't know because
they're going to have a season 3. It's not going to get to.
They've definitely already said that, but a good break to be would be, and just gonna keep standing by this, is at the theater when Jesse dies and Abby kind of sends her home in a way, where we'll pick up at that part. Like that's the next part of it, I would imagine, unless we spend a lot of time with Abby, which we could, because that could be when Abby's like walking on the skyscrapers, and that's how the Seraphites kind of cross
Yeah, that's
buildings.
when we get Lev.
Yeah. We have
It
to
seems
get
like
Lev
that's
this
what they're gonna
season,
do.
though. We have to get. I would bet that we
No.
get. No,
I don't
what?
think so.
Hold on,
I
gotta,
think that's coming next season.
No,
I
it's
think
so
we're gonna
dumb.
stay.
Stop using that.
I think they're gonna do it similar to the game, where they're gonna stay mostly with Ellie for this. They just had to give us more of Abby, so they're gonna stay with Ellie, and then we are gonna switch over to like Abby.
That would be bullshit, then, wouldn't it, my darling?
I don't know.
I agree. It wouldn't work as
Do
well.
you, if you guys think they had already cast Lev, would it be released online?
That's what
I haven't
Jessica
seen
keeps
any
saying.
castings of
I think
Lev.
I don't know.
I think it would. I just like, because I remember
Yeah.
when Dina got cast. I remember like people were like on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it'd be a hard thing to hide.
Yeah, I do think I could see them ending at the farmhouse and the last scene being her deciding to go back out, kind of thing.
That's wild.
Because I can't see them ending just on her defeat at the thing. And I can't see them going to the farmhouse and being like, I'm okay with this, and just ending it. So I almost feel like that could be a good ending point of, you know what, I'm not done with this. I'm going to keep going. And then it ends the season, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It could be interesting.
Because then that's not a whole season's worth. Like when she does decide to go back out for her, it's not long enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really?
No, it's not.
I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, like she's almost immediately, because where he has her pinpoint is almost pretty close to where she gets like taken and by the people that she's now a slave for or whatever the heck. And so it's like she gets there pretty quickly. Like the game picks up with her like there and then falling into a trap and getting hurt, and it's off. Yeah. We're off into the like.
I guess that's true. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. It's interesting. I am seeing the difference in Abby more now, of like the physical difference. And I was like, oh, some things are changing and stuff. So
yeah.
I was like, just even like the beating of Joel which I was like, that's going to do a lot of damage no matter how strong you are. But I think just, seeing her punching him and stuff, I was like, it doesn't feel as like terrifying as it was because Abby was freaking built. But I'm loving Abby still so far. Not that she was in this episode, but
it's true.
Yeah. And
anything else we need to touch on?
No, I don't think so. I loved.
There is one thing I want to.
Okay. Go.
You continue, Chris. What you're saying.
Well, I was just going to talk about the parts that resonated me with on this episode the most was the therapist talking to Tommy, because that says a lot about like people, and kind of you gravitate towards people that kind of are on your same path, maybe not the exact same path, but mindset, feelings. I think that what the therapist says to Tommy really is like just a nugget that we're going to come back to throughout this entire series. And also what Seth said. I think that we are Seth in that moment. And I think that the passion and anger, all that does is leads you to pain and heartbreak. And I really believe that that's what they want to do. Looking forward, everybody wants to rally the sabers. I think Mason says that. But what does that get you? It gets you into a war with tanks. Rally the sabers. It's a term that the Russians would use. Sabers are swords, switches. So like everybody put up their swords and shake them and let's go to war.
Sabers?
No, not poor food. Just oh my
scabbards. You mean scabbards?
No, I don't mean scabbards. That's not.
What the fuck did you just say?
And it's rattle the sabers means like let's get everybody in a fever pitch and go on this thing, but then everybody dies. It's like as we examine what happens if you follow that train of thought, that old train of thought, it's I think it's going to be really interesting to say. Well, not just a mob mentality, but like it's a mentality that's fueled by like passion and in the moment and anger and rage. And I think that just like Dina does to Ellie, there's more than that. Like think about it type of thing. So anyway, that's all I want to say about that, Lizzie. Take it away.
My last thing I want to talk to you guys about, and this is something that I'm having a little trouble. I'm not happy with how the creators are dealing with it, is the revealing of the scene with her and Joel on the porch. Because playing through the game, you think her and Joel ended it in a horrible place. They never talked. They never reconnected kind of thing.
They're making us think that too.
We've gotten 2 hints though, and it's hard because I played the game. But the one,
what was your hints? Because I don't think to me there wasn't hints. But tell me.
So when her and Jesse are leaving to go on patrol and going to get the sandwiches and
she
whatever,
said, we're fine, leave us alone.
She said we talked, we're fine, kind of thing. We figured it out or something. She said something like we figured it out.
She says
and if
that.
They had just taken,
she does say that. She does say that.
What? Okay, I'm gonna have to go back.
Yeah, she says we the therapist.
We figured it out, and I was like, if they had just taken that line out, it would have been fine. Because she said, like, I'm Ellie and he's Joel, and we'll always be whatever.
Always work it out, and we'll always be this. I thought it was more of a we will work it out. We're fine.
That was last episode, though.
Yeah, if she had said that and said like, "Hey, just everyone needs to stay out of it,"
that's what I thought.
I would have been happy. But I think the first thing she said was like, "We're fine now." Blah 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 blah. And I was like, "Oh, you could have just left that out." And maybe I'm overthinking it or something. Maybe I do need to rewatch it.
That conversation with him happens before the dance.
No. No, that's when her and because she's like,
she's
no
going.
offense, I'm gonna go out with Joel, and he's like, that
Oh,
is
that's
offensive
right.
because you're not talking to him, and he's out
Yeah.
with Dina.
Yeah, that's true.
kinda
Okay, I do
thing.
remember
So-
that. Okay,
That I was like, if they had just taken that one line out, I would have been fine with
I'm gonna
it.
rewatch
And
it now, and we'll come back next week.
Bunch of
if-
fucking
if I'm wrong,
victims.
though.
Please tell me. Please tell me. But
What's
then
your second one?
starting in that conversation with the therapist,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's just because it was such a like a blasé kind of, oh, we're fine, we talked it out. Oh yeah, I went back out onto the porch and we talked to each other kind
She
of thing.
doesn't
And I
say
was,
that.
She doesn't.
She doesn't. She straight up says the opposite. She says, yeah, we had that moment at the dance. I came back home. He was out on the porch and I walked right past him. And I wish I could go back and I wish we could have worked it out.
To the
She
therapist.
actually says, the
Yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah.
right. You're right.
She says
You're
the
right.
opposite.
But
which
she
I
tells
was
it to Jesse
I was
something
like,
different.
damn, that was great because it actually makes you like the audience will double down on that and be like, oh shit, that actually did happen.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That happened. Yeah, that's what she said. And I was like, I'm very happy because people who are watching it and not played the game
Yeah.
will think that they didn't, make up kind of thing. But then I was like, I don't know. It felt like it needed to be mentioned so that Gail, the therapist, could do the whole, oh, last time I talked to him, he said this, and Ellie, and I really love this moment where she was like, well, what did he say to you kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she says, oh, he said that it was weird. He said that he saved you kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I loved that was revealed, but to get to it, she had to do the whole, oh no, we never talked, but these things, last moments are not defining the relationship kind of thing. And I was like, I don't know. I think I just don't want it to be brought up because in the game, it was just such left to the end that it was like this small, like heartbreaking, but silver lining of,
Yeah.
hey, they were gonna make up. They were in a okay
Yeah.
place. They didn't get to make up completely, but they had that one talk. And so
Yeah.
now that they keep kind of hinting at something happening, it's annoying me. It's just annoying me. I think.
And so I'll have to again go back and look at what the Jesse thing was because if that is different, then I'm gonna be like, oh crap, yeah. But it's
I
funny
hope I'm wrong.
because in I'm with you when they first showed the porch thing in that episode, I was like, the audience cannot be getting this part. Are you kidding me? Like this cannot come at this time. This has to come way later. And then they had her walk past, and then I was like, okay, cool. I'm down with it. I'm cool. And then the thing is, when you were in the game, it was kind of like, you didn't get to see the dance scene until towards the end. And then you didn't get the porch scene until the very end. And so there was so much hanging in the air about where were they? Like, where did they leave off? Like, it seems like it wasn't a good place. People were talking about it where they were like, you kind of went off on Joel or something like that. It sounded like she had left on very bad terms. And that kind of like kept throughout, which kind of helped with all of us being like, there's like some sort of guilt or something there where it's like, you know what I mean? Like they didn't go out on good terms. Like he died and she didn't go out on good terms with him. And that felt awful throughout the game. And I almost wonder if they're bringing it up like that now because of the fact that they're kind of using that for the show to be like, he was on the porch and I walked right past him. And it is that same feeling of like, oh God, she actually had an opportunity and didn't talk to him because that's how you would take it if you didn't know,
Yeah.
But maybe but maybe like you said, maybe because we know it's like a little bit more infuriating or whatever. But
I was like, I love that they had her walk past him on the porch.
Mhm.
I wish they had just left it there and just not really talked about it. But I'm just like, keep it a surprise because at the end of the game, you're devastated. She's lost the last thing that has connected her to Joel, which is like her ability to play the guitar kind of thing. And then you get this one thing of they were going to be okay. And it's like, oh, it's heartbreaking, but it's also like, at least they had that.
Like closure, right? Like heartbreaking, but closure to that point. Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
And stuff. So I just want them to stop hinting at it because it almost feels like it's taking away from it. It was such a huge reveal at the end that now when they keep hinting at it or keep kind of mentioning it, I'm like, stop it. Just stop it. What are you thinking? Stop it.
How dare you?
So
yappy.
Yeah.
That was my last problem with the.
This is what I think.
God damn it, Gump! You're a goddamn genius.
That's interesting, Lizzie. I think that's going to be, it cheapens the reveal for sure. Definitely does that.
I think it's to build I think
No,
it's for
it's
all of us to double
not.
down on it. And we're just, I mean, if you're an audience member who hasn't played the game, you double down on the fact that you're like, she really did walk right past him. Like,
That's
problem.
Yeah.
and
It
that's
puts
the
them
last
in a
moment they
difficult
have.
situation because also they're splitting it into 2 seasons. And
No, when are we gonna
so
get the scene?
are they gonna reveal it this season? 'Cause
No,
I don't
that would be
want
wasted.
them to.
Yeah.
But if they are, then I'm like, save the reminders for like the second season because we need to remember it when we get to the
Right. 2 years
like,
down
or
from
third
9.
season, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, but right now I just feel like we saw it. We know it hurts, kind of thing. But like, if we bring it up every episode, it's like, well, why are they bringing this up?
Yeah.
Did something happen? Kind of thing. And so I'm just like,
I think it's just to build the guild because it's going to be, if we see flashes of him on the porch, which did happen in the game, but you didn't know what it was kind of thing. But if we see flashes of him on the porch now, with what we've seen, at least we would be like, oh God, she didn't.
Yeah.
Like, he was there and she didn't say anything. Like she just, that's how, you know what I mean? It's going to feel like that every time as opposed to being.
I'm excited for that. I just don't want any like, oh, did you talk to him at the end kind of thing? I'm like,
I still don't know how they pull that back.
asked
Did she
that.
walk past and then just go, come back?
No,
Or
they
does
have
he
to
follow her? you
They
know?
do it
No,
in editing. She has to come back, or like that's
she comes back.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those things that they haven't revealed it yet, which thank God they haven't. But I'm like, if they keep giving hints, it's gonna bother me. It's just gonna bother me.
There's no way they can reveal it prior to the finale, though, right? Because that's
I'm
what
with
ties the story together. Like,
it's so it's like, because the ending of this game is just so dang depressing. It's like this is the last thing that actually just gives you like a slight lift. Like you just, because again, the whole game, you think that they left on terrible terms, that they just weren't talking to each other and she was being awful to him and things like that. And then at the very end, you get to see that it's like, no, they actually did talk. They actually had a moment where they cleared the air and they agreed that they were going to work on it, kind of a thing. And that's kind of enough. You know what I mean? It's like enough to be like, oh, thank God it wasn't just
like they didn't get there, but they were going to be okay. They still
were
loved
gonna
each
be
other.
okay. And it's like where we are now is like, this is terrible, but it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah, I don't know. There's little tiny minute changes that I'm they're starting to add up and I'm like, oh God, I hope this works out. Cause this is a little, I'm doing too much comparison where I'm like, this is a little different. And how are they going to do this? And it's, it's such a precious game to us.
It's true.
So the second one was too hurtful to be my favorite game, but like, it's such a good game.
It's still so precious.
What it is to me. You know, it's funny. Before we wrap it up, as a writer, like when I'm writing something, you kind of think like this. It's like you mentioned the little things that become big things soon, and then they become huge things later. Like all of those things are so important. And when you're in the writing process, that's just, it's funny how when you think things through, how like that snowball becomes a pebble to a boulder to a mountain. And it, in my opinion, these small changes that they're making, it's going to make the series so much different than how we know it as the game. So, but you know, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Jessica and I were talking about this on our walk, where if it happened like by the numbers according to the game, it would almost be kind of boring. It's like,
wouldn't work.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, granted, the specificities of it, but the changes they're making, it's like, well, it's great entertainment because in a way you're seeing it for the first time too. You know what I mean? Despite you knowing how this ends, you're still kind of seeing it for the first time and experiencing for the first time. So, you know what I mean?
I'm excited to see where they go with things, and hopefully some of the things that are bothering me, you know, slowly change with time and they're just taking their time with it.
Well, we've only got 4 more episodes.
Oh God.
How sad is that?
Oh God. And then another 2 years.
Yeah, right. And from what I'm gathering, the next episode will be a very Abby based episode. We're gonna get a lot of Sarah. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
I don't know. I was like just seeing Dina with the gun and
yeah.
And was there in the preview a little clip of Isaac.
A big
I think they'll do Isaac's story. Yeah.
Big ass clip of
Yeah,
Isaac,
little intro.
definitely. Yeah.
As long as
Yeah.
this is next episode, not like what's coming up in the season. I
Well,
don't remember.
yeah.
What it was.
And what's
Yeah.
another thing about this is that we're going to get a full Eugene episode. Is it Eugene? It is Eugene, the one they keep
You
talking
keep
about.
Oh,
saying
Eugene,
this.
not Isaac. Eugene.
Well,
Sorry.
we're gonna get one. It's already been confirmed. Like they've already talked about it. So in addition to this like pace, but anyway, that's a conversation for in the future, whether we like it or not. I think we're gonna get it.
Maybe
We won't-
that's when we get some Joel flashbacks because there's like the one flashback I keep thinking about because it's not in the game is the one they've showed in the trailers where they're talking about her tattoo. And he says, like, oh, it's a moth, like
Yeah.
it's, growth and this. And she was like, no, moths don't mean that or whatever. And he's like, what does that mean? And he's talking to the psychotherapist. And then she's all like, death, if you believe that shit. Yeah. And so it's like, I was like, oh, that's a new one we're going to see where at some point we're going to explore what her tattoo means and things like that. But I wonder if that's around the episode that would be the Eugene one since
Well,
it's got
Pedro
therapist in
is
it.
listed as being one of the top billed actors for next episode. So
so
we'll
we'll at least
see.
get a
Well, if-
trailer or a preview or flashback, whatever.
yeah,
I mean, if they're talking about Eugene, he's got to be there.
that's
But
true.
I could see them
Yeah.
tying Eugene getting bit, if that's how he
Hi.
died, to Dina, not Dina getting bit, but Ellie getting bit, and Dina
You know what?
kind
Chris
of.
had a really good theory about Eugene.
Oh shit! I don't want to talk
You
about
wanna
it. We'll save that for when it comes up.
But you have to say it or people don't believe you.
I don't want to say it now because I thought about that and I'm like, I found a problem with my theory and I'm not. Gonna,
Okay,
Oh,
I
no.
think
No, I'm not going to self terminate. I'm not going to self terminate.
I think it's a good theory.
thank
Can
you.
I say it?
No, but
It's my theory now. It's my theory now. I'm gonna steal it.
Oh, Jessica's got a theory. Jessica, what's your theory?
What if it's spores?
Oh, that
'Cause
is.
it- Yeah, and then like
Yeah.
and because again, the whole talk of we had to put him down kind of thing. I just keep being like, you know,
and
what
it
I
was
mean?
just really unfortunate and
They have to figure out how do they introduce spores. We have not seen spores. They have to intro it somehow. It makes sense to me that if you're going to do Eugene episode anyways, you could use that to introduce spores.
And that makes a lot of sense if you think Ellie was infected with spores instead of a bite, and that's why Dina is pointing a gun at her.
Yeah.
But,
And
We'll-
either
we'll
way,
s-
the reason we know we have to have spores is because
oh God, yeah.
of Nora.
when we get to the hospital death.
yeah, we've already run a
which-
spoiler. We can say it.
I think Manny is going to die first still because
Yeah.
he got the cut on him, and the guy who got the cut in the game was the first one who went out. So I think he's going to be the first to go on.
it
this
makes
Yeah,
sense.
he's an asshole anyway.
Yeah, it makes sense if he's on the
one.
if he's on
He
the
is kinda more of a
watchtower.
dick. He wasn't. Well, he was a dick in the game too.
It-
He was a dick, but he didn't. I don't know.
He
I don't
spit
remember
on
enough.
Joel after he died, so he did, and they didn't do that in this series. So I was all
He
like,
didn't he want to kill Ellie? Like not leave any survivors, kind of thing.
he might have. The one who got cut did, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The one who got cut, whether in the show or game, wanted to kill Ellie because he got cut. Basically,
Which I stand by. You should never never leave anybody left. But I do think that Manny will die first, only because the way of they have introduced where his character is at, it seems like he's isolated. And if these
Oh,
two
totally.
19-year-old girls are going to sneak up on somebody, it makes sense that they would find the ones isolated and kind of get rid of him, take him off the board first. And the
Well,
only
we know Dina is pretty good with the radio and starts figuring things
Well,
out. So
that's a Jessica
all-
says too. Yes,
I know. Like I said, I love that they're introducing that she's smart early on because
Yeah.
it's like, those things were in the game, but you didn't get as much of it. You know what I mean?
This
Like,
scene
yeah,
is
like-
awesome. I love this Cena. She's fucking great.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's a little too flirty at times,
Well,
but
yeah.
I'm enjoying it.
That's true. Copy that.
God damn it, Gump! You're a goddamn genius.
Oh
And
my god!
I
How many
am.
times is Lizzie gonna be a genius?
Liz is on fire tonight.
That's why I'm the best guest star you can have.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how the next couple weeks pan out. Next week I'm excited for because we get Isaac, like you said, Jessica, the big bad, the big bad. But for this episode, I'm all talked out. Are you guys anything
Yep.
else you want to say? Yeah.
I'm Jessica.
Oh,
Liz.
and I'm Chris. And we will see you next time.